over the it's loved around the lights. I think it's one of the very, very best races with nothing roads. So this is for the world. That can little race, but so I have a little bit of an idea about things that are specific to how you do it. But what I'm really doing this morning in terms of starting and finish is what I'm talking about is the local. As you know, as a sailor, I don't suggest anybody here would have a rule book, we refer to it every moment I speak. But just understand that there won't be anything that I tell you today. It isn't straight 100% in accordance with how this book says to do it. Because of course we just can't do it any other way. And you guys do anyway. So I want to make that clear. And I also won't talk much, if at all, about some secrets that you guys do, like how to display a course or things of that nature. I think that is so particular to all company that internally you probably need to have a little guidance on exactly how to do something like that. But anyway, so let's go. Let's talk about how to start a race. Now, obviously, this means that you race committee together. I know you don't start all of your races from a boat because you start a lot of your races right out here on the end of this dock. And we actually start one of your races because I'm usually the guy that starts the Dana Dillon race from over on the Hampton Airport dock, and then you finish it here. But I know that some of your races are right here on a dock. So when I talk about setting a starting line, that's not an issue because the starting line's already set. It's the dock and that day mark, and that's it. Doesn't matter where the grease is. But I do know that there are many others that do race Yankee Station for one, and many others, where you go out and you're on a committee boat, and you take that boat out and you need to establish the starting line. And we'll talk about that in a minute. But you've already got that boat, you've already got the race committee, you've already got your equipment on board, and you have left the marina and you're on your way to the race course. And so the first item of business when you get out to that race course is that you need to put a starting line in place. It's the first physical thing you're going to do on this particular day, and it's important you do it right, because if you do it wrong, there can be problems at the start list, because everything ought to allow to start. Some folks maybe are unfairly disadvantaged or whatever, and you don't want that. So let's talk just for a second about that. We're talking very generally now, guys. This stuff is all very, very basic. We have an 8-hour course that I teach the U.S. sailing on how to run a sailboat race. We probably spend an hour on this. But this which are very, very basic, give you a couple of ideas that you should think about as you're getting ready to do it. So when you get ready to set a starting line, there's really two factors that matter on the starting line. The first factor is the length of the line. How long should you make that line? If it's too long, the boats are pretty happy because everybody's got all kinds of room to get in there and run the line if they're early. And, that's not, I don't know if I ever heard a race and say to me, geez, John, that line was too long. That's not a complaint you usually get. And I certainly have heard, hey, John, that line was kind of short, wasn't it? Never, hey, boy, that line was too long. But if it is too long, the two things that are bad about it is that, number one, because it is so easy for a boat to come in and get a decent spot on the line, certainly in the league view, is that you have now deepened the competition because it is so easy. And you've taken away a little bit of the skill involved in getting that spot, which the better racers ought to be rewarded by being able to fight their way in there according to the rules and get that. So it does, in my opinion, it cheapens the game just a little bit. But the other thing that it does is that if if this is your starting line, and if this line is too long. And so maybe this end of the line. This is always the wind coming down the forward. So this end of the line is now back, and so this end is very favorable. If you could start it at this end, that's great. You are, according to the ladder runs, you are closer to that weather mark. You are ahead. How much are you ahead? You are ahead by, if this is another boat, and we can obviously pick this line is, out by the way, long, out here somewhere. Putting the mark here because that's as big as the board is. But if these two boats start this way, this is now the starting line, rather than where it should be up here to be squared it out with. This boat here is at the gun, they start together. This boat is 1/4 of the distance between him and the boat further towards the favored end of the line. He is 1/4 of that distance ahead. So if this line is 300 feet, let's make the math easy, 320 feet long. This guy starts here and you start here and you cross at the same time. This guy is 320 foot long. 1/4 of that is 80 feet. This guy is already 80 feet behind this guy as they begin to go up to the weather mark. So if you're sailing, 25-foot boats, he's more than 3 boat lengths behind already. Just accept the math because that's what it is. So you really want the line to be square. And so as we're talking length of line, you don't want the line to be so long that the favored end is just raised advantage over boats that wind up at the other end. We're just going to leave it at that. But it is a factor. That's a factor you don't have to worry about if you get the length of the line kind of right. If the line is too short, clearly, as the rest of the boats, try to line up to get in there, there's just not enough room. And you are creating heartache for you and everybody else involved in running the race because they're going to have collisions, going to have protests, going to have people yelling, screaming at each other. And you don't want that to happen just because you made the line too short. So how long should the line be? It's very simple. U.S. Sailing says that the starting line should be 1 to 1.5 times, I'm not going to bother to write this, the aggregate length of the fleet. And every time I start a race, I do the math, and you should too. You should take the starting list or the scratch sheet or whatever you've got showing what boats are racing. Figure out which, if you have multiple fleets, and I know Jeff was telling me, a lot of the time you guys have just one fleet. Well, okay, take the list of the boats and write down the length of each boat and add it up. The length of each boat and add it up, and you'll get a number. 300 feet worth of boats on that line. And U.S. Sailing is telling you that the starting line, if that aggregate length is 300, that line should be 1 times 300 or 300 feet long, all the way out to 1.5 times that number, which is what, 450? Mm-hmm. So you could have a starting line and you say, well, how do I know what I'm about to tell you? But your line should be between 300 and 450 feet long. And the easiest way, by the way, to get that distance to that is how? Look at it,
Take measure.
take a tape measure. That's what we do. We have a 600-foot tape measure on our boat. If someone treads water right next to this, it takes a while, but boy, is it accurate. Obviously, if when your boat, GPS is the way to do it. You just use your GPS. We're not going to all that. You can figure out how far 300 feet is by pinging this point. And then your GPS is always going to tell you how far away you are from that. So if you put a boat down there, you can tell what that distance is. I do also in my bag always have from golf a rangefinder. And I could take that rangefinder and put it on that mark. It's unless the line's a quarter mile long or something, you can, it'll hit that and read it. And you can tell how long that distance is. Sometimes that'll help you. Now, should it be 300? 450? Should be somewhere in between. Well, I'll tell you this first of all, I don't ever use one. I've got a 300-foot fleet. I am never going to use a line 300 feet long. I just think that's asking for trouble. The racers really don't want that. And so usually I'll take about 1.25 of the 300. That'll roughly, and that'll kind of be the length of my line. Now, if it's heavy air, and I don't mean 25 knots, obviously that's heavy air. But if we're getting up into the teens, 13 knots, 12, 13, 14 knots or more, I will always make that line the 1.5 distance of the length of the fleet. So in terms of how long, how short, that's just my thinking. Yours may be different. But for God's sake, don't go out there and give the 300-foot fleet a 600-foot line, because you're doing terrible things to the folks at the disadvantage and you're taking away a lot of the skill involved in getting a good spot. All right, so there were two factors in setting a good line. Number one is the length of the line. Number two is the angle of the line in relation to what? In relation to the breeze. And without, again, we could spend quite a long time on angle, but just you're going to be pretty well in the ballpark if you have got your starting line basically square to the breeze. Okay, square to the breeze. Now, a lot of things are involved there. We just don't have time to do. But you should never be setting a center. Again, out here, you don't set the line. It's the angle is what it is. But out here at Yankee, you're going to anchor the committee boat. You have total control over the angle of that line. And you should always have someone up on the bow of your boat, preferably before you anchor, so that he's getting apparent wind, and we're not going to go to all of that, but he's getting apparent wind angle, which is exactly the same wind the boats are feeling while they're sailing. And he could be taking some readings with a hand-bearing compass and a wind stick. And so you guys have a device over here that you use, which is the same thing. But it's a way to look upwind and determine where the heck that breeze is coming from. And once you determine where that breeze is coming from, you hand out there, so let's just be simple and pretty simple. If you determine that the breeze is coming down from 240, a nice southwesterly, which we do a lot in the harbor. It seems like 3/4 of them are southwesterly, but anyway, if the breeze is coming from 240, this is the line that you're trying to establish in reference to this mark that's already there. It's probably the day mark, right? been there for 50 years. So the mark is probably already there. You want this angle to be 90 degrees, yes?
This meeting.
So if you see that the breeze is from 240 and you stand with, you don't ever go out to run a race where you're going to have to anchor in reference to anything. Off the pier, I guess it doesn't matter. But don't ever go out and run a race where you don't have a hand bearing compass. You got to have and be able to use a hand bearing compass.
John, we have one in the kit. There's one in the kit.
Okay, I'm not even going, yeah, hand bearing compass. So you're standing where the orange flag is on your boat, on the starting line. Boat's not anchored yet. We're just hypothetically saying now. Once the boat is anchored, what, if you look through that compass, what should your compass be reading when you point it at that mark? What number should you see on that hand bearing compass? Yeah, 240 minus 90. Because I'm looking at the lubber line on that hand bearing compass. It's showing me here. And it's so easy. The guy, people on the boat here to do this, and they just, it's kind of laugh. When I was, I said, what's the wind direction? 140. I'm in my mind. Okay, what do I need to see on my compass to set the mark? I said, okay, 240 minus 100 is 140 plus 10 is 150. That's the number. And that's how hard it is to do the math. 240 minus 100 is 140. Add 10 to make it 90. It's 150, and that's the number, and it takes about 3 seconds, but it's never wrong. So that's just what we do. Well, when you're on some powerboat, probably, or sailboat, motoring sailboat, unlucky you. And you just want to get on your boat. Remember, you're looking for a starting line of 400 feet. You've done the math. You figure you need a starting line about 400 feet. Pretty good sized fleet, 400 feet. And you've taken your committee boat and you've come right by that day mark Yankee or whatever, and you just ping it on your GPS, which is man overboard. The man overboard will always show you the distance and bearing back to that. So we get that into the GPS. We motor out. We get to where, when we end up here, we're going to be about 400 feet from that. We'll start motoring upwind. And you're standing here and somebody's driving and you're watching this bearing change as the boat motors. It takes a minute. You're watching that bearing change. And when you get right here, hand bearing compass number, it's 150. What do? Keep going. But if you drop the anchor now, what's going to happen, right? You're going to do this, and now the bearing is going to be lousy. So you keep going, and I don't know. I usually use about 10 degrees, maybe 5. But so I just keep going a little further. And so if that bearing was 150, remember the numbers are getting smaller, left side of the. But I let that number get down to about 140. You drop the hook, slide back. Is it exactly right? No. Is it exactly right? If it's exactly right, no, because we all know the breeze never stays right there for the half hour between when you do this and when you actually blow the horn for the, no. But you are not close enough for government work, but you're close enough. You're going to be running, you're going to be giving the folks a start with a line that's kind of the right length, not awful. Kind of the right angle, not awful. and you're off to a good start, and you don't worry about it anymore because you get on and do what we're gonna talk about now. Yes, Jeff, please.
If the starting boat, if the race committee boat is sailboat, keel, you may be affected not only by the wind, but by the current. And sometimes, once in a while, the current is in the opposite direction. Once in a while, the current is in the opposite direction of the wind, so you have to be aware of that. As John said, if you ping the Mark Yankee, start on your way out, you need to be looking at the water flowing past Yankee, and make sure that either there's not much current compared with the wind, or if the current's the same direction as the wind, then everything he said makes sense. But if the current's in the opposite direction, weird things happen when you anchor. If you ever anchored a sailboat with the wind and current are in opposite directions, the sailboat will turn around. So you just have to be aware of that. Everything he said makes perfect sense. Just be aware of the current as well as the wind.
Well, we're gonna run any race in the bay. There's nothing we're more interested in than as we pass red 22, where all the current is. It's what the hell, where's the current running on red 22, because that's gonna affect everything. Jeff is the current guru, so I would defer to Jeff on what the current's gonna be. He's right.
Actually, he's a long time current. He's not just a current, the long time current.
Okay, all right, moving on.
Is that a plus or a minus?
I said you already have your race committee together on the boat, you're going out, or on the end of the pier, and you're assembling in order to do this job. Let me talk to you just for a minute about the race committee. And it's my contention that there's not many races that cannot be run with a 6-man race committee. I mean, 7-day races, I don't care. 6 people, you could run damn near anything because you've got enough people to do that. Now, in the handout, I believe we put, no, in the handout 6 as well. But really, if you can only get 5 people together, you can do a perfectly good job with 5. You can only get 4 people together. Staggered starts a little easier, but if you're out there running races with a lot of flags, a lot of things happening, it starts to get tough. But I suggest that if you have 6 people on your boat, it's the simplest thing in the world. Very quickly. You need someone on the bow, what I call the wind boss. And anytime I go to run a race anywhere, I have somebody who's out here on the bow. Once we get the boat anchored, he's probably the one that helps us anchor it too. But with the hand bearing compass and wind stick or whatever you're going to use, and it's his job from the moment we get out there until we start the race to help me determine where in the world is the wind coming from. Because if you don't know that, it's impossible for you to do a proper job. So we put him out there. And we have a guy, we call him the wind boss. We'll get to this in a little while. Right now, we also use this guy or gal as we're starting the race. Now we're doing the flags and boats are actually starting. This person stays right here on the bow and is the one who does the recalls. Recall boats that are over early. And we're going to raise the next flag and blow a horn. That's the guy that's going to do that. And we'll talk about that when we get there. That's the wind boss. The number 2 by the orange starting flag would be the PRO, who also calls the line. Now, there's not much line calling to do until the boats are crossing to start, which means he's free to be the PRO, keep his head out of the boat, pay attention to what's going on, and do all the things that someone who's running a sailboat race has to do. The number 3 person is the timer. Now you have got to have a dedicated, I mean, that's the only job. Timer. Someone who has, this is exactly what we use, a little colder time. It's this time of day. It's ticking off with you can know what time it is now, 9:38, 21, 22, 23. And that's how we keep all of the time as to when we're gonna start. And the timer's job is very simple. But it takes a lot of concentration. Bad timer, bad race. Good timer, no problem. You have to concentrate. But the job of the timer is to just keep these folks that are doing the flags, is to keep them aware of how much time until the next flag goes up. So if it's before the race, it's supposed to start at 9:30 and it's 9:15. The timer's job would be 9:15, so make sure everybody knew 15 minutes till 1. Well, 15 minutes till 1, everybody on the boat knows that we're all starting to get clued in on the most important moment, which is when the gun, I call it the gun, usually it's why nobody uses guns anymore. But I call it the gun to ensure nobody misunderstands what I'm talking about. The gun, the moment, the start, when the last flag comes down and the first boat is allowed to cross the line. That's the start of what I call the gun. So the timer is keeping everybody aware as to how much time until left. And it's such an important thing. All right. 4 and 5 are the 2 people doing the flags. Of course, you have a class flag that's going up at a particular time. We're going to do this. Let's show you this. Class flag goes up. A minute later, the front flag goes up. 3 minutes later, the front flag comes down. It's 1 minute before the start. And 1 minute later, the class flag comes down, which indicates the start. And there's a horn with every flag. There's a horn with every flag, up or down, always up, always. Okay, so these are the folks that are doing those flags. Remember, if you have one state, one fleet, everybody's in one fleet, they're all starting together. Right. If you have more than one start, CCB races in the harbor, we usually have at least 3 starts, which would be A fleet, and then B fleet, and now usually combined with C fleet. They start second, and then there might be a non-sprinter fleet third, or maybe a cruising fleet, or maybe a Viper fleet. We could have anywhere from 3 to 5 or 6 starts for any one race. Those flags going up and down and up and down. That's when it becomes difficult at the time. With the flag people to keep all that right. In the old days, the Southern Bay Race Week, when we did a distance race out here in the harbor, out here in the bay, we had 10 fleets. Because every fleet, if we have multiple courses, everybody started on the same line with a distance race. And so we would go out to run that start, and we would have 10 starts. So we would have 50 minutes of flags up and down and up and down, and over earlies and boats trying to come back. And at that point, the person who's keeping the time and the flag people who are coordinating these flags need to have a clue what they're doing. And so it all becomes a matter of just doing whatever you do. You run a race, whatever you do it the same way every darn day. So that your people that you have with you, which so often turns out to be kind of the same people a lot, which is good. So you get used to doing it. Well, but anyway, that's the 5. Now, before the race, half hour before you're anchored, we try to be anchored about 45 minutes before the start, which means we're out there about an hour before the start so that we have some time drifting around, just taking wind readings with nothing else to do, plenty of time, then we anchor the boat and get on with other things. But so that's when I say before the race, I mean in that half hour that you're not starting, you're getting ready to start. He's always up to window. PRO could be anywhere, but as they head out of the boat, running the show, making sure everything's going right. The timer is somewhere kind of in the middle of the people back in the cockpit, these are the folks in the back. And he or she is always there again, calling out 20 minutes till start, 15 minutes till start, 10 minutes till start, and then more when we get closer. We'll show you that. These two people have a couple other things that they should be doing, and this is important for you now. When you get out there and you get your boat anchored, and now you're ready, and the wind guy is paying attention to the wind, keeping track of it. I haven't mentioned number 6. If you don't have a number 6, then you don't have it. That's a recorder for beforehand. I don't have number 6. The PRO kind of has to double up and do what he does, but usually I have the 6th person working with the flag boss. So that as the flag boss is looking up wind and seeing the wind go back and forth, oscillate, shift, which trust me it is. Hopefully it's not shifting. Anyway, he'll have in his hand a little reporter's notebook. This is the briefcase I take out there. And well, pardon me. Well, he'll have one of these in his hand. Follow little lines. And as the wind boss up on the bow hollers back 240, right? 240. Couple of minutes later, the guy up on the bow will holler back here. 230. I'll write it down. And after 45 minutes, we have a lot of numbers written down. That helps me as the PRO decide what this number needs to be. What do we need to be setting that starting line square to? And also, and I know you don't do this a lot, maybe someday you will. If you're running drop mark races, somebody's setting a weather mark up there for you. They need to know that number, because that's where you're sending them to set that mark. So anyway, this is just a general purpose person that I use a lot to write down anything, everything that I think needs to get written down, so that we need to know later what happened when somebody wrote it down and I could say, well, or about that. But yeah, okay, I need to move faster. These two guys in the back, or gals, Gene Holt is one of our really, really good race committee folks over in Hampton. Gene's also the vice congressman of CCB, by the way, and good racer as well. And she's often one of these two people, and is going to become this person one of these days. One of these people back here before the race will be what I call the flag boss. And so they'll get out the bag of flags that you've got ready the day before the race, and you've got all your flags in that bag. And he or she will take those flags and lay them out right, against the transom or wherever you're going to display the flags from. Lay them out in order. If you have multiple fleets, if you have 10 fleets starting, you need to have those flags in order. Trust me, do that. If you have 2 fleets starting, you need to have those flags in order. And you also need to have, I bring this up now because so many people forget it. What's that? That's what that is. That's the postponement flag, AP. And your flag people always need to have that, or they can get that in an instant's notice So that if anything goes wrong during the starting sequence, if you make a mistake with time or put up the wrong flag or, whatever. You put that up, blow a couple horns and everything just starts. You fix what's wrong. You take it down, you start again. We'll talk about how to do that.
Just a quick note, these flags are put on with Velcro, so they can switch. And this one actually says postponement right here, and AP. You can't mistake.
Sure. So. Flag boss kind of getting flags ready and any other little assistance you may get, some steel lined up. We have this person do the boat check-in. Any race that you run. So if you're out on the water, but I suppose, do they check in, Jeff, at the pier, like around the lights? Boats come by, don't they, and say, they horizons here or whatever?
It's supposed to, but the guy on the pier just moves out here and watches them as they come in.
Absolutely. But you should have a procedure, and it should be in your sailing instruction. Telling the boats that before the race, they should sail past the stern of your committee boat or past the committee station on the pier. If they should pass by and hail the boat sail number or name of the boat. You don't need to make this hard. The idea isn't for it to be hard. The idea is that they do it so that you can have on the pier, you could have your list of boats called a scratch sheet. Don't ever go out there to run a race without a scratch sheet. Whoever's running the regatta, the administration of the regatta, the OA, whoever. You have to have an entry sheet, you have to have a list of boats. And so make sure that you have that with you when you go whatever place you're going to run the race from. And so before the regatta, the boats come sailing by or motoring by if they're early, by the transom, and they just holler out, "Hey, Halaha's here." Selling, and you, whoever this person is standing there with a spreadsheet. It's not. It's always a nice idea at that moment. It's the first interaction you're going to have with the races that day. And that on your race committee gives them a, "How you doing? Have a good day." And you're off to a great start. Everybody's on the same page. Do that. Have someone doing it. All right, what else? What else? All right. I'm gonna check this down because we've got other things to focus. Talk for a moment now about this, well, more than a moment, about the starting sequence. It's the most important thing you're gonna do other than set a decent line. Because if you don't do a good job with the starting sequence, boats are not gonna know when to start. You're going to have boats started for a lot of time. You can run into protests, lose the whole race. Just terrible things happen if the race committee messes up. There should be a perfectly good starting sequence. Now, in your the front page of your handout, it shows the starting sequence. Yes. Rule 26 in the rule book here. Rule 26 looks like that. The top half of your page there. And that is exactly what the way that a starting sequence should be run. And we'll do one in a minute, but we'll just tell you a second while you're kind of focusing in on your paper. What the one thing that doesn't show on this is that I think it's a good idea, and the sailing instruction should mention this, But it's a good idea for you to have. To give a sound, all these are sounds. To give a sound that we call an attention signal. Some people call it an alert. All it is a way to alert the racers. Hey, I'm not supposed to know what time it is, but hey guys, we're getting ready to start. So let's pay attention. Very important. We ordinarily do that 1 minute, not a timed thing. You don't tell them it's going to be exactly a minute, even though I try to make it exactly a minute. They hold you to that. But you just take your horn and blow just a series. Boop, 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 boop. We do 5. Quick shoots of the thing, and the racers know, all right, down to business, let's go. No flags involved here. All you're doing is 5 quick sounds to get their attention. We also put that on the radio. Now, I'm a huge fan of using the radio. You're not racing lasers here. You're racing boats, all of whom have got radios on those boats. Now, nowadays, Flying Scots have radios. We ran a Flying Scot North American years ago. 120 boats. 120 boats. No radios. No way to communicate with them except what you do with your horn and your phone. The horns were important, but there were no radios. But I'm a big fan of radios. And I use the radio as follows. You use the radio about a half hour before the start. Maybe that's too long for you. 15 minutes before the start. And you just get on the radio and say, hey, this is your friendly race committee. We're on station and anchored, or it's your friendly race committee. We're on the pier, ready to go. And we have approximately 15 minutes until then. It's a good warning. Then I will use the radio to tell them maybe, all right, 10 minutes to warning, guys. Okay, 5 minutes to warning. Warning coming up, whatever. I just think it's a nice way to keep them aware and kind of tuned into you that here we go, here we go. I also use the radio if we have a postponement. If something happens, okay, we'll talk about that, but to tell them, hey, pay attention, look, postponement flag is up, all the other flags are down. We had a timing error on that last flag. And we couldn't, let it go with that. So we're going to restart the sequence here in a minute or something, whatever. We're just telling them why is this happening and how long is it likely. You can imagine, because you are racers, and the best race officers are the ones who think of nothing except, what would I want if I was the racer? What would I want if something just happened and I got no idea what it is, and I wish I did? I wish someone would tell me. And so that's what we're trying to do. And so we'll tell them if there's a postponement on that, might be good.
Just as a quick thing for the radio etiquette's really important. If you're talking into the mic, don't eat the mic. If you hold it too close to your mouth, the people at the other end, on the other side, they can't understand what you're saying. So hold the mic out just a little bit, far enough so it's not distorting with the people that are listening on the other side. It's not worse than hearing that person and then hearing this. And that's it.
Sorry. Tell it. Quick little story. I used to. And we have multiple foods, and we have multiple mark boats out there. We have these fools in these mark boats. And we're trying to keep straight, set the mark, and move the marker. They are fabulous, like you couldn't do anything without them, but I have two radios. I have one radio that I'm talking to Mark Wilson. I have another radio that I'm talking to everybody else, the fleet. And it has certainly happened that I have picked up the Mark Boat radio and said about a minute's worth of stuff intended for the fleet. Well, I never heard that. He heard it. He's wondering, why is he telling me that? So you gotta be careful, but yeah, you're right. The communication part's important.
Yeah.
Just a general point, that a radio can be a good thing. Put it in your sale instruction. Communication. The race committee may make courtesy announcements on the radio regarding timing, postponements, emergencies, etc. Put it in. Okay, so anyway.
And you designated a channel that you'll be using.
Always. Well, we always do in here, VHF 72, that's just me. Doesn't have to be you or anybody else. We use 72 to talk to our boats. We use 78 to talk to our members. That's just what we do. Okay, so. If you look at your piece of paper, there's a series of horns and flags. It needs to happen exactly this way. There is no leeway or latitude here. The folks have to know and count on exactly what you're going to do. And this may be a little different for a pursuit race. We'll get to that at the end. This is if you're running a fleet race where you're doing all the normal flags and you're going to start a fleet when the last flag comes down. You should do an attention signal, which involves no flags, about a minute before the first warning is going to go off. Whether you do that or not, when you are ready to start the Rule 26 sequence, you raise a class flag, which that is your A or all boats are starting together. If it were a CCV race out here, that might be the number 9 flag, which is the code flag A for A fleet. And then if we're going to start B fleet next, when A starts, that will go down. And the B fleet flag will go up, and that just starts another 5-minute sequence to start the B deal. But starting your A, all your boats together, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and up goes the A flag. That tells all your boats there are now exactly 5 minutes until the start. Exactly. If that flag, well, okay, leave that at that. A minute passes. You should have a second person. If one person is raising both flags, okay, yeah, you should have a second person ready. And, oh, I left something important. Stand up.
Don't go to there.
Wait,
Okay, we've done the attention signal or not, if you don't care to do an attention signal. But we're getting ready for a warning. The timer, who has been for the last 15, 20 minutes, maybe every 5 minutes alerting people, 20 minutes to warning, 15 minutes to warning, 5 minutes to warning. When we get down to 1 minute to warning, it's time for the flag people to begin repeating back the time that the timer tells them, so that we know they're listening. And we know they're ready. And trust me, as PRO, this allows you to retain some sanity that everybody on the boat is ready to go and that we're gonna do it properly. So the timer will say 1 minute to warning,
I meant your warning.
and Jeff would repeat it back. Folks, it can't go wrong with that. It just can't. Also, make sure, we're sitting here in a chair, so it doesn't matter, but make sure that the only person holding a flag is the person that's gonna raise the next. Whoever's doing the prep flag, I don't wanna see their hand anywhere near that prep flag. So that I know that that's not gonna go up as well. So Jeff gave, and then the timer will ordinarily 30 seconds to warning.
30
So if
seconds
you
to
go
warning.
30 seconds. 15 seconds to warning,
15 seconds to warning.
and then the timer will wait, and he can stop repeating, the timer will then do the 10, 9, 8, don't need to repeat that. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Beep.
Now, who blows the horn? Timer blows the horn. Timer is in control of the horn. Nobody else can screw up the time of the horn because the timer's the one who just sort of knows that time. So now we've got a flag in the air. We've had a nice loud, don't try to save too much in here. Give them a shot. Let them hear the time. And so now the timer is just waiting. And usually at about 30 seconds, the timer will go. 30 seconds to prep up, 30 seconds. We all know. PRO, I take a deep breath and I'll start this down a little. And then the timer will go 15 seconds to prep up. 10, 9, 8, 2, 1. Now we have 2 flags in the air. And the boats can see them both, yeah? The point is the boats can see them both. It's nice if you have some folks who are kind of a little bit into it, that when it's the moment for the flag to go up, that they'll do just kind of a nice snappy up. The reason for that is 2. And look at this. Rather than do this. And because technically this flag goes up 4 minutes before the start, 1 minute after that one. 4 minutes before the start. And it's when it hits the top that is supposed to be the moment that's 4 minutes. So a nice whoop, no problem. That's 4 minutes. Yes, Chief.
I was just also gonna say, don't put it up too early, like anticipating they get to one and, then you put it up
Oh,
right
wait a
before.
minute.
I had that, yeah.
It also isn't a bad idea if you're on wherever you are, on a dock or a boat. If one of the flags is like that, you can get the other one a little higher, just kind of a little different altitude, so that if the boats are lined up with the flags for some reason, as they're fighting with each other, they can see them both and they can see what's going on. All right, anyway, the pro flag goes up, and after that, you have the most interminable 3 minutes in sailing, which is the 3 minutes between when the prep goes up and the prep comes up. There's nothing to do. You're just sitting there. Yeah, the boats are doing a lot, but you aren't. It just always seems. Okay, can we not move this along just a little? No. All right, so as we get down and the when that's up, the timer will usually go 2 minutes till prep down. 2 minutes. 1 minute till prep down. 1 minute. 30 seconds till prep down. 30 seconds. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And the rules call for that to be a long horn. Now look, why that's supposed to be a long horn, I haven't got a clue. World Sailing didn't ask my opinion, and so I don't really know why it's a longhorn. That's just this. Okay. So now we have something under a minute until class comes down, and of course, that's the start. A pretty important moment. And so, as same thing, 30 seconds. A lot of times, the time limits is 30 seconds to start, 30 seconds to class down, 30 seconds to whatever. 15 seconds,
15 seconds.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And the class went down. And that's when the boats can start. Before that, they're over early. After that, they're not.
Is the start horn along also, can that be a shorter?
Just
I mean, I
a-
get the prep down's a long one, but then that's the prep, that's prep down. Got it.
What did Jeff do here? Jeff is exercising his arm. What's this white flag mean?
He surrenders.
Cruising start.
It means there's another fleet starting. There's still some boats out here that weren't in that fleet. Or a CCB or a, so we're, a race with more fleets. It's whatever the class flag is for the next group to start. And that flag, that might happen, this might be the only other fleet. Or as I said, there might be 3 or 4 or 5, but 10 other fleets. And it all happens exactly the same.
It's the Veterans Cup, we're gonna have multiple fleets. So we usually start when one class flag comes down, the other one goes up at the same time. So it makes it easier for the conference. We don't have to start a whole new sequence.
Right.
And for the boats to know it's just that rolling 5 minutes. I'm saying it makes it easier for the boats.
And are the classes, like, do we have the same flag every time for all the classes? So
Races. The letter A, which is all, which all of our spinnaker, non-spinnaker, and cruising boats all start at the same time, because we don't have a big fleet. But in the Veterans Cup, we're gonna have
I got 1,000 because I just
CCD racing. Club racing, all the PTSA. Spinnaker class A, DC fleet, non-spin fleet, and a cruising fleet. Probably, maybe even an ORC. fleet. So we'll have different flags for the different classes, and when the first flag goes down, the second flag goes up. Now you want to talk about which is more important, horn or the flag.
Yeah, I will. Important to know the fact that, in an old boy comfort race, that the first flag up is, it's holding up again, the A. But the A is the first flag up. How do you know, other than that we're sitting here talking about it, but if you're a racer, how do you know what that flag, what that means?
Sailing stuff.
Yes. The sailing instructions must describe each class flag. You write the order it starts. Boom, 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 boom. If there's 4 fleets. And you describe, so in the Veterans Cup, it will say something like start class flag A. It's the number 9 flag. It's a multicolored square. It's red, black, white, yellow. And that's the A fleet flag. And it's right there in the SIs, and that's what will be on that pole. And then the second flag will be the flag for B fleet. And that's a black and white flag. And then the third flag might be a non-spinnaker flag, which is a blue and yellow on the flag. And then if you have an ORC fleet, I think now that's a green flag. But anyway, it's written out in the sailing instructions. No guesswork here, and by the way, there's no, well, now you can make them anything you want to make them and put that in the sailing instruction. You could make those flags purple, green, turquoise and chartreuse. It doesn't make any difference, it's got to publish it, then that's what's gonna use. Right?
And it's convenient if all those clubs use the same.
Which they do. I mean, everybody uses in terms of for the normal perf starts, everybody uses that number 9 flag for A fleet. And uses number 6, which is the black and white one for B fleet, which usually combines C. He does probably combine B, C. But, and non-spinnaker is the blue and yellow. But just remember, it's not confusing because it's written down, just gotta do it. Now, the time is taken from when the flag is hoisted. No problem when it gets to the top. No problem for you. It used to be a problem in places like Fishing Bay, which had halyards. Well, it take them 5 seconds to run that halyard up, Mr. Roberts. I've seen it take longer than that. Well, when did the warning went up? When it got up there, or was it the horn, or was it the? As race committee, there's only one golden rule as race committee. Do your damage not to confuse anybody. Try not to be confused. You know what I mean? Try not to be confused. The only thing worse than a line that's not square is them not being able to figure out where the hell a line is at all. What flag is the class flag, so them not being able to figure out whether or not the flag is even up or not. Bad stuff.
Let me throw this out. This happened to me 60-some years ago. First race, I was in high school. Over at Norfolk Yacht, had a big yacht out there with a big 10-gauge starting cannon. And man, at the time I started just right and a cannon didn't go off. And I didn't know what to do.
Did it not go off at all, Bill?
It didn't go off at all. And I crossed the line, I came back and it still worked. And then finally they said, go on. Well, the cannon, the noise, the horn, that's just an attention. It may not go on, that doesn't matter. It's the flags that matter, so just be aware of that. If that horn doesn't go
You
off.
will notice, maybe it isn't in what I gave you, but in Rule 26, that the absence of a sound signal shall be disregarded.
Yeah, sure.
Wish I had known that then.
Yeah, that means that.
Sure.
that
Did you
gun
get a handout?
is damn thing. Unless it went off what? The wrong time. Unless it went off at the wrong time. Now that's a timing error. That's not an absence.
So what happened?
It's been postponed, start again, you screwed up. Yeah. But anyway, so the absence of the sound signal, so if you're partway through this and it's 10 seconds till warning, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, great. 1 minute till prep up, great. 10 seconds till prep up, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. There's no horn. Absence of a sound signal shall be disregarded. You continue right on. It's not an error that you can or should correct. But if the class flag went up just fine, and now it's time for the prep. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Problem. Because the time was different. Excuse me. The sound was different than what it should be. And any timing error must be corrected because you've done what? You've confused the races. When that prep went up, does that mean I could start 4 minutes from now? Or 4 minutes from now? So at that point, it is important If you make an error on a committee vote, I don't care what it is. The most common are errors involving the starting sequence. Either something is done at the wrong time. It only has to be 2, 3, 4 seconds to be wrong. But if something is done at the wrong, a sound is done at the wrong time. Excuse me. Or the flag is done at the wrong time. That is an error that must be corrected. And as the race committee, just take these words to heart. Something goes wrong on the boat with the course. Was something that you as the race committee have done that didn't get done properly. And you ever, because you will, you ever have thought, maybe I can get away with that. Maybe I can get away with that. Don't try. Stupid. Stop. Fix it. Start again. How do you do that? Let's try that. I'm sorry, did you get your prep back? Yeah, somebody have that. Hey, Chief?
Yep.
We're taking my AP. Okay, so now the race committee, okay, 30 seconds till warning.
30 seconds.
Okay, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Error. Everybody's happy. 30 seconds till wrap up. 30 seconds. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Error. It's screwed up. The boats are confused. They don't know. And when you get all the way to the class flag going down, and half of them start, and the other half after the race say, wait a minute, John. We started 4 minutes after that horn. When the brook went up, if that goes into a breakfast stream, you're going to lose, and there's going to be trouble, and the race is going to be all screwed up. So, the minute as a PRO, I have flag go up, and 5 seconds later, I hear, "Err." I say to myself, shit. Okay. Gene, AP. Excuse me. So I always have it handy. You just raise the AP. Probably the timer, because the timer's the one with the horn. And you tell the timer, 2 horns. You get on the radio. Race committee of the fleet. Sorry, we had a timing error on that prep up. The AP is up. The start is postponed. Please come back and we'll do it again. AP stays up. Any other flags that you may have up, 1 or 2, or any other flags, just come down. And now you're just sitting with the race committee, clean of flags, except for that one. And the racers all know, got it. And you can do it almost, you can restart almost faster than it's taken me to tell you how to do it right now. It's not like it takes all day. Because all you have to do to go again is understand you'll restart the same fleet that just had the problem. They don't go to the end of the line or anything. You might have to, depending on right where you are, you might have to give them just a couple seconds to get straightened out. Remember, they've been fighting with each other and they're all tangled up and yelling and screaming. So it might take them a few seconds. But you then say, okay, We're all set on the committee vote. Get ready. We're going to remove the AP flag here in just in a couple minutes or maybe a little less. In other words, be ready, folks. Here we go. You are now ready to restart that sequence. Here's all you have to do. You're going to remove the AP flag. Remember, it went up with 2 horns. Remember that. 2 horns. It's one of the few times when there's 2 horns. Almost always it's 1. It's 1 for that. It's 1 for that. 2 horns for an AP. So now we're ready to go. On a committee vote, you guys are ready. Jeff, y'all said, okay, good, good, good. All sounds great, good. All right, guys, here we go. Ready, Chief? Yeah. Okay. Okay, guys, and I may even do this on the radio. May even do it on the radio so the fleet can hear it too, although you don't have to. I'll go. Okay, let's go. Ready to restart the sequence. Team, AP is coming down in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And 1 horn from the timer. Whoever's got the horn. At the same instant. Right, so let's do that for real again. The AP's coming down, Gene. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. If I put her over the radio, it's just any way in the world the fleet's missed all that. And now we've got the AP down. Now here's what's important. This is an exact time. 1 minute later, from the moment that comes down. 1 minute. Class flag's going up, and we just restart the sequence like it was for the first time. So I go, I jump to class flag going up at 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, preps going up at 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And we're on our way to the sequence. Is there any question about all that? Well, you're not going to remember all that probably, but it's all right in. It's all right there in Rule 26 in the rule book. And now you've got a handout, and it's just about you need to do it right now. One other thing that we need to just say. Try not to let this confuse you, but okay, take that down. And Jeff's got his up. The prep just came down, and we're getting ready to start. We've got 1 minute until Jeff, and now we have another fleet. We've got a second fleet. You've got your cruising fleet, or we've got our B fleet, or whatever. There's one of 2 ways to handle this. We've already shown you the way that's called the rolling start. That means that when the class flag comes down for the start, the class flag for the next bunch goes up simultaneously. Now, I'm sorry, for anyone here who's a graduate of Virginia Tech, simultaneously means at the same time. Sometimes I have to make that clear. So,
Wouldn't it be simultaneous?
no, simultaneous, no. And at Tech, it's do it at the same damn time, as long as they've got it right. Okay, and that's fine. That's called a rolling start. And really, we had 10 fleets, 15 minutes worth of starts. And we just did that 10 times. No problem. It's in your sailing instruction. Your order starts, and the picture or description, doesn't have to be a picture. Description of the class flag, it's in there, so not confuse anybody. It's just how well your people do this. But there is another way. And it also says this in your Rule 26. That something to the effect of that. When the class flag is removed, the preceding class, the class flag for the next class to start can go up with or after the removal of that first flag. In other words, you don't gotta put that second flag up at that moment. You don't have to put it up. And you don't have to make any announcements. It's in the rule, with or after. So, but Jeff, if you'd hold your A up again. And as we get, and yeah, and you may very well have additional, Dean, will you come and be my second class person, just so we show what it looks like? So if and of course on the committee vote, you're gonna know this, you plan this. Now we know, okay, guys, we're not gonna start cruising fleet immediately, but we're the word I like to use is, and best practice, this is the right word, would be we're gonna have a pause, PAUSE. We're gonna have a slight short pause between flag down and next flag up. So we say on the committee, okay, guys, flag's gonna come down for A. No flag for B, we're gonna pause. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Flag is down. A fleet starts. What does the next fleet do? Wait. Wait how long? Exactly. The rule doesn't say. The rule doesn't say. Now, it certainly shouldn't be 2 or 3 seconds. I mean, don't confuse them. If I'm going to do a pause, I'm going to do at least a minute. I'm going to give them a minute. Because also, guys, that lets us on the committee board think about it too, you know? It lets us not be stupid and do the wrong thing. So,
John, there's a good reason for the delay too. In the summertime, when it's light wind, sometimes you want to let first fleet clear the starting line.
Yeah.
At one time, I think get started before you start the second fleet.
absolutely right. Give things a chance to sort out just a little bit.
Now, your failing instructions will generally say we're gonna have a rolling start. They
No,
you
no,
know,
I don't want to tell you that because they don't have to.
I mean, if that's your plan, but so you don't have to put that in it for the road.
Sometimes I've seen,
You can put it in,
I've
you
seen rolling starts shall be attempted.
are intended, or attempted or intended. Put that if you want to. I think, make sure you use the word, I think intended. So they know, might not be that way. And if it isn't that way, after the race, I don't want to hear about redress or protests or, I don't know, we didn't say we're with you, right? So, also, and usually it's going to be a relatively short time, about a minute. If it's going to be longer, I tell them on the radio, after the A went down and we didn't start the second group, I say, okay, as you can see, we've got a little pause here. And there may be a real good reason we got some trouble with the weather marker. We want to make sure we got it straight before we start the second group or whatever. So we've waited. It's been a little while. You put nothing on the radio. You don't have to put out how long it's going to be. As long as it's not going to be very, very long. The boys say, okay, let's go. Let's get ready with cruising fleet. And we're gonna do a class flag for cruising routine in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And now everyone knows we're into the 5-minute sequence for cruising fleet. And we know, 30 seconds to prep up, and we won't do it. Okay. That's the way it works. Everybody see that? So we've got a rolling start where we down and up simultaneously to start a second fleet. Fine. Rule says that's great. We've got a pause. This doesn't happen too often, but you sure as hell can do it. We've got a pause. We'll go 10 and 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay. Now let's go ahead and get ready to start the second read, 5, 6, 4, 3, 2, 1. One flag up, 5 minutes for them. And we've got an AP flag, which is at any time that something goes wrong. It's called the race committee's best friend. Because it's for any reason. I've used it for timing it. I've used it for flag errors. I've used it for someone ill on the committee boat. I've used it because all of a sudden I got nervous as hell about the weather. All of a sudden I see James River. What God, what's that? I've used it in a big North American championship. We're right in the starting sequence at like 25 J29s in the North American Championship. And as we're partway through the first, last flags up, and the mark boat from up at the weather mark, we were in the harbor because of where the wind was. Our course was, we were down kind of towards the M&M tunnel, down by the mouth of the change. And our mark boat became aware of a tug and a great big barge had come out of the channel. And were clearly coming right straight towards where our weather mark was. And so discretion, trust me, is the better part of valor. And so we just really quick, we threw up a postponement flag, got on the radio. Hey guys, you may notice big tug of barge coming through. We're going to wait for them to clear. Well, you could be sure everybody was happy to know that we did that. And so stuff like that. Okay. Any questions on this? Maybe I've beaten it all to death. But I just think the biggest favor I could do you guys is to try to make you aware how to do a good start, how to not get in trouble, but to try to do one. Okay, now let's move on far more quickly than that here. It's all good. That's all good. Okay. Recall. You're going to have to be able to do this. Here's your starting line. Upwind start, I guess. What determines whether or not a boat is over early?
It's part of the whole from the one side of the floor.
What is it? It's got to have something to do with crossing this line too soon, doesn't it? Okay. You've got an orange flag on your boat. You got a mark down here. And by the way, I always point out, this is anatomically correct. The starting line is at the front side of that mark, right? This is the course tip of that mark, right here, at this. If you have boats coming, and you're just not too sure, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0, whether or not he's overruled. First, don't ever call anyone overruled unless you're sure. Do we want to get it wrong? No, we don't want to get it wrong. We don't want to let somebody start too soon to get away with it. No, of course not. The worst thing you could possibly think like a racer, not like a race officer. Think like a racer. The worst thing you could do is call some poor bastard over early when he wasn't. Don't do that. So, is that guy over early or not? Well, a real good thing is if you're here, you're looking, you're over here. Looking down that line. Here he comes. 3, 2, 1, 0. When that horn goes off, if you can see any color of that mark, he's not over early, because if he was, you wouldn't be able to see it. But if in front of his stem, in front of his bow, you could just get the least little splash of color on that line, he's fine. And so's everybody else, because somebody else will be covering up that color. So that's just a little, for what it's worth. The rule says that if any part of that boat, of the hull of that boat, not a sail, used to be, until last rule book, used to be, if a bowman was standing on the bow of that boat and he's looking back at his skipper and said, okay, go. And his hand went across that line before the gun, then that boat's over early. Well, thank God that's done. So now, any part of the hull, and obviously 999 times out of 1,000, that would be the bow or the gunwale, if the boat's just literally running right down parallel to the line. And that boat's over early. If not over the line, no part of the hull, then the boat is not over.
It doesn't count bowsprits either. Okay.
Used to be bowsprit. Now hull, just hull. Same thing at the finish. Same thing at the finish, by the by. Any part of the hull of the boat across the finish line. So if they're finishing downwind, which we get that a lot, if they're finishing downwind, and the spinnaker not finished till the stem of the boat crosses the line. Used to be, and you all know, boats would, as they would get here, the spinnaker trimmer would let the seat weigh it, so the spinnaker would billow forward and finish the boat a couple of seconds earlier.
How about your starboard quarter? How about your starboard quarter while you're at anchor? Okay, down the Bay race, I think it was, one of the races down here, right off of Hampton Roads, north-south finish line.
Yeah.
Southwest wind.
Yeah.
Light air, we come up on starboard, tack onto port to cross the line, but the current took us back. No, we did it 2 or 3 times, finally anchored. And the current or something happened and the starboard quarter across the finish line while it anchored. And
Well, at Hampton Yacht Club, Bill, the guy, who was the guy that owned Fast? The big 60-foot, BR Flowers.
60-foot bowling alley.
BR Flowers. This is Hampton University. That's Hampton Yacht Club. And he ran aground right on the rocks of Hampton University, and the boat swung and finished. That's cute. Sank at the same time. Anyway,
But he finished.
gonna go on. So they're over. If any part of the hull is over for the gun. If you have a boat over early before the gun, your procedure as a race committee is as follows. It is your responsibility to raise the X flag with one horn to indicate to the fleet that somebody is over early. Who? No. Some. Maybe several somebodies. That flag indicates that we have one or more boats over early and have not come back to clear themselves for delivery. You can, if you, and by the way, it's really nice. Now, this just depends on your equipment and stuff. it really helps if the horn announcing over early is a different sound than the starting horn. They're gonna happen within 2 or 3 seconds of one another. Maybe, I mean, it happens right, you know. Meaning start, meaning over early, it could be confusing. Now, if the club has, it gets one of those automatic horn systems, the Balboa timer, it could cost about $500. If you get one of those, that's a very distinctive sound, and it is wonderful because it does all the time sequences automatically. You don't push any buttons. And there's beeps and little things in there to tell you how long till the warning. It's really nice. But it's a different sound than a West Marine air horn. Totally different sound. The West Marine air horns are what are perfect for over early. The guy up on the bow, remember, committee boat. Your wind boss is up here. Now at the start, he's sitting right here on the cabin or whatever of the boat. And in his hand is an X flag, and he's also got an air horn, and he flies that flag and he blows the horn. Only when told to do so by the PRO. This is our drill on the committee boat for early. I'm standing at the orange flag here. I'm watching the boats come up. 3, 2, 1. No one's over early. No one has crossed that line too soon. What you do is nothing. You do nothing to let the people on the boat think that you're telling anybody to do anything, so that they don't become confused and think you're telling someone that you or someone was over early. Just be quiet for 3 or 4 seconds. I may just turn my head because the guy sitting here is maybe 6 feet away from me, 7, 8 feet away from me. I may just turn my head and just go clear, just so he knows and he doesn't think he thought he saw somebody over, and he thought he'd do a good deed, blow the horn and raise the flag. You don't want that. So just nothing happens. The boats go on their way. Everything's fine. Or 3, 2, 1. Over early. Starting horn blows. Turn my head. Say to the guy on the bow. Individual recall 1 horn. Now, how long did that take? 2 seconds? 3? Great. But you need to have your recall flag in the air and a horn blown. There's no time in the rule book. Doesn't give you gonna happen within 5 seconds or 3 seconds. It just says, I think it says prompt. Let's say immediate. Means right now. Not once these guys who aren't sure. When this is close, we're not talking about anybody cheating here. They're not sure if they're over or not. They want to know if you think they're over. Well, not fair or good to let them get out here somewhere before you decide to put up a flag and blow a horn. So within just a few seconds, you should get your horn up and blow a flag. Now, he's over. He's not. This is a gun right now. He's not over. Maybe sure he's not. He may not know if he is. Or he may be not quite as over, but over. He's not sure. He doesn't know. the rule says it's not your responsibility to identify what boats, I mean, you need to know, but you don't gotta tell them who you're calling over early. But you can, if you want. That's called hailing, HAIL, hailing the boats that are over early. I.e. from your signal boat. From your signal boat. Calling out their cylinder. Or boat name. And telling them who was actually over. If you're gonna do that. Two things. I'll say no names, but there was a PRO fishing bay that I could not get to grasp this. If you're gonna do that. 120 flying scuds. We could not tell all 120 who was over early and who wasn't. Mostly because the starting line was over a quarter of a mile long. And there's no way they could hear me.
Sorry.
But
You just can't stand it.
tell them who was
Gotta
over.
be in the middle of things.
They need to be able to hear what's happening. And so if you've got a fleet of 20 boats, probably not 20, a fleet of 10 boats. So now the thing's down by where Jeff is, and this boat's all lined up along it. All you wanted, you could holler out, ha, over early. But if he's down there and the wind's blowing, the sails are flapping, skippers are screaming, he can't hear you. So what's your alternative to that? Radio. You've got radios. All your boats have got radios.
I can do this.
On the radio. But if you're gonna do it, since it's not a rule. If you're gonna do it, you need to tell them you're gonna do it, you need to put it in the sailing instruction. It would be like a second item. Under recalls. It would say the race committee will attempt, always the word attempt to build. The race committee will attempt to notify over early which boats are over early by radio via VHF 72, whatever. And if you want to do that, I think it's a great thing to do. I do. Great. But you don't have to. If you don't want to get involved in identifying who's over, don't do it. All right. So now, let's say there's one boat over early. Horn goes up, the flag goes up and the horn blows. If he was over early, what's he gotta do? He has to clear himself. And by clear himself, that means that he has to turn around, come back until he is completely behind the line, the whole boat. This won't do it. That boat did not clear himself. He is still over early. Come back behind the line and then restart. Not this way. Restart properly back through the line, right? When this boat is fully clear, is when the line sighter will say clear, and the person with the flag will lower the X flag. The lowering of the X flag means that everyone who was over early has come back and cleared. If there were two boats over, and this boat just keeps going, which happens all the time. This boat comes back, clears, Nothing happens to the flag because everyone's not clear. How does he then know he's clear? He's just gotta know. It's the rule. You've gotta know. And believe me, if you get this situation and you're the PR or line caller, whoever, and you're standing here, right about now, everyone on this boat is looking at you, going. All you can do is. Don't even do that. Oh, no, he waved. He said we were okay. So anyway. Everyone has to come back before you touch the X flag. So he's just gotta finally get the picture. And go on his way. Obviously, you're making a notation on your boat. When he was over early, you wrote that somewhere. And once he's clear, you put clear next to it and everything's fine. This guy on this finish sheet remains scored as OCS, last +1, tough one. But now you're still stuck with a X flag in the air. Because this guy never came back. Now what you do is you leave that X flag up 4 minutes. The end of 4 minutes, it's pretty friggin' obvious that guy's not gonna come back. And you take it down. Small point of order. Let's say after 3 minutes, somebody on his boat finally gets through and says, Joe, you were overlooked at the X flag is still up, for Pete's sake. We gotta go back. Well, he turns around and he's still coming back. At 4 minutes, you take that X flag down anyway. You don't wait 8 minutes until he gets back. At 4, you take it down, and he's just got to know the rules, and it's going to clear. And then go back. Any questions on that?
If you're over early and you're doing boats, you keep, and you realize you're over early and you can't turn around because you're running down the boats, what do you do at that point?
You lose all your rights the moment you turn back. So, if you're in a group, this is now a race boat. If you're in a group, 3 boats, could be 10 boats. And here you go, and you're the red boat, you're a little over. And you know it, and you want to turn back. As you say, obviously you can't just do that or that. In a situation like, again, until you actually turn, you retain your rights. You could sail here as long as you need to. Nobody can mess with you there. All you could do if you're this guy, dump your sails, let everything go, do whatever, and slow down. Right? Slow down, and hopefully this way you find a time when you can bail and get out of there. But even as you're coming back, if there's another fleet starting or whatever, you have no rights at all. A better way to say that, you must keep clear of everybody. Whatever tack they're on, doesn't make a difference. But that doesn't happen until you turn back. That boat that kept going and never did come back, he keeps his rights the whole race. If he goes on and probably is going to sail the whole race, he can tack and jibe and luff and gets rights at the marks. And the fact that he was over early at the start doesn't have anything to do with his rights the rest of the race. Why would he do that? Some people do it just because they're hard-headed. Other people do it because they think, I wasn't over. Let me give you a good example. I'm sail number 37840, And Joe, who's sitting below me, is sale number 804. I think they said the sale number wrong when they called it out. He wants to wait till the race is over, protest, go to a hearing, and please, there's nothing wrong with that. Now, his chances are nil. But if he goes and says, you meant 804, not 840, and it's the race committee, oh my God, you're right. Okay, cool. He did just fine. So that, why someone might do that, why that matters. You wanna go off the general recall? I don't know if I have time, Jim. I'm gonna.
Well, it's okay, just
You
say,
read very good.
no, no. But you gave the example of 120 thistle, something starting on line. And if you have to vote fast, the big vote, and he's right next to the committee vote, and he's 5 seconds early, and his sales is you.
Yes, they do.
Committee vote can't see how many votes are over, and then you apply this flag which says general recall.
Yeah.
I haven't seen it out here.
Well, we've used it a couple of times.
now.
We don't use it very often. Now, when you get into the bigger regattas, we've used it. Southern race to go out with equals, but. Instead of. When the race starts, you have just 1 or 2 or 3, and this is gonna be you guys. You're never gonna need this. 2, 3 bus, whatever, over early. You put this up. They come back, well, they don't come back. And the race continues. It can happen. What? So many votes are over early that you as a race committee just cannot even begin to identify them. All TV stations. You don't want to let them go. You know there were, you had, you had 12 votes on the line. You know all but 3 of them are over. You can, rather than raise that, you can raise. This is called the first subset. This is general recall. So that's rule 29.1. This is rule 29.2. And what this does, this is just like a postponement after the start. You put this up with 2 horns, just like a postponement. What it means is everybody stop. Stop. We're calling this off. And we're gonna do it again. But so many people were over that we just can't. Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that at all. Some race committees use this as an excuse. Because they're not too sure. Let's just bring it back and make it start again. Nobody likes this. The racers don't like it. Do this 2 or 3 times in the same start. See what happens. Racers are not going to be that. You shouldn't be here. Yes.
So with that flag, could you use it for one specific class though?
It would only be for one class. It would
And
be
then-
for that class that has just crossed the line.
Okay.
And you say, instead of being a manageable number of votes that are over, it's an unmanageable number, and we're gonna have to stop this class.
Okay.
And do it again. If there's another couple of fleets, I think, they just keep going.
Yeah.
There's a flag, abandonment flag, which is in your list of marks and all. Where if you fly the abandonment flag with 3 horns, that means we have abandoned the race. We have stopped the race. And we're either gonna go home, or we're gonna come back to the start of the number and try again.
Thank you.
That's not what that is. That is just for one fleet. So many boats, we're gonna try again to do it in a little more orderly fashion. Yes, Bill.
John, when you have a general recall, do your instructions have to say whether the recall votes will start after all the other votes or that they?
Rule 29.2 takes care of it.
What is that?
That didn't, rule 29, that you will restart the recalls class.
Okay,
Used to be, you're remembering like me, long ago now, 20 years. For
that's not that
CCD,
long.
CCD used to do that.
Yes.
If there was a general recall, that group went to the end. The theory being, I guess, to discourage them from having the general recall, because who wants to wait, till 4 more fleets start before getting another try? But the rule book, they changed the rule book, this has been a while though, where, if it's B fleet that's general recall, this B fleet comes back and you start them again, because if you do it right, Bill, it doesn't take that long. You don't, a lot of race committees will wait, and let them screw up, take down your sales and screw that. If we have a general recall, I'm on the radio right away. General recall, A fleet, return to the start side, expect to restart in about 2 minutes.
That's what I am recalling from X decades ago.
Gotta go pound it.
11:30, it's whenever.
Let's go into the finish thing for a little bit. Jake, could you talk about finishing some?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're coming from all over the.
All right, well, keep your finishing.
Sure. Gene is gonna, Gene, there's a team hope is very, very good at this. I'm going to talk to you about finishing. That exhausts everything on starting and recalls. And I appreciate attention, this man, guys, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank
John.
you. Bye.
It's down.
Squeak.
Do they need a quick question, right?
What,
I don't know if anybody needs a quick question, right? Well, I'm gonna go over that.
yeah, Gene, make sure you unclip the mic from him, so it's,
Signing off.
well, hey, just broke it.
I think that's finished. This is the committee growth. That's finished.
Yeah.
Those are the end.
That's what you did.
It's finished. Like John said, it's just. Right. It's just any part of the hall that crosses. They have to come in between the those and the station. If the folks come in over here, they're not.
Actually, you have to come between finished flag,
Yes.
finished mark.
Yes.
Yeah, finished flag will be on the way.
Yeah. So between the finish line and- so not just like the typical, it has to be finish line. And so we'll have someone who will be standing right there with the flag and they're looking at the line.
All I gotta do also.
Take
the stuff off the board.
Also, if they,
Box of the chair. But. And we fold up the door, just stick it in. What is this? Yeah, that's fine. That's fine.
hey, John, right quick,
Well, it all goes right in the.
you wanna explain the vote book one?
The what?
The vote book finish, said where it does not finish, is whether. Yeah, I guess that's from this one.
There you go. You go ahead and go.
Oh, no, I got a couple of minutes. I mean, if we just do this part right here. Look. any part of the hull, just like the stern. Any part of the hull cross the finish line in the direction from the last mark where they're coming from, right? So if it's an upwind finish, they need to finish going this way, not this way. Yeah, so it's synonymous to some, Virginia Tech folks, that it's the same thing. This is from the course side. Course side means in the direction from the mark they're coming from. So they need to finish here. I like to talk downwind. It seems like so many of our finishes are downwind. Let's just talk downwind for a minute. If here comes a boat downwind, not the spinnaker, not the whisker pole, but the stem of the boat crosses that line, the boat is finished. If that boat, well, let's talk upward because this is more likely in this case. Boat coming across, no, yep, finished. If the boat now does this, goes home, finished. Some part of the boat crossed the line. Doesn't have to be the whole boat. Okay. There are some things that can happen that are screwy, like this. A boat comes and misses the finish line, does not go through the finish line. John, that's not going to happen. Oh, yes, it does. That boat there has not finished. Now, if the crap turns around, comes back and finishes, okay. Or a boat finishes from the wrong direction. He's supposed to do this. Here's where he's coming from, right here. Boom, 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 through the line. But instead, he's confused or whatever. Maybe the line's not perfectly straight. And he's coming in, and he should finish here. But he finishes from the wrong direction. He is not crossing that line from the course side. He's not crossing the line from the direction that he was coming from. This is not a finish. And if that boat would do that, go home, or sail away, get ready for the next race, or whatever, he is scored DNF, did not finish. If he does this, then okay?
Nope.
Nope. Why not?
A string drawn from his transom or from around the course has to touch the inside of all the marks.
That's what he's done there, right? That's his string, the string rule. Pull that string tight. Not pulling on this string.
Touches the wrong side of the mark.
It doesn't touch the mark at all.
When you pull it tight.
Well, but from where it came from, string's gonna be over here. It's never gonna touch.
Yeah.
But to finish, it needs to pass through that line in the direction from the last mark. It still did not finish. What does he need to do to make that right? What does this guy?
Do it.
Gotta go back around,
Go back.
That's DNF.
all the way around.
That's DNF. We used to pull that string the hell out of there. And finish. And anything short of that, you get DNF, and that's what you need to.
Good.
So the other thing on the finishing, so you have your finish sheet.
Thanks, sir.
So if you have, we usually have two people doing finish, which is really good because sometimes one person can miss something and have them both on. So when we have just one vote coming in, both of us can reconvene the vote name or vote number. And the timer will tell us before the first vote comes in to let us finish the hour. So 13. And then he's gonna say, like, we'll say the seconds first and then the minutes. So the first number we're gonna hear will be the seconds, the second number we hear will be the minutes, because he's already told us the hour, 13, and it could be 44 to 13. So we know that's the 1, 13, and 44. So writing that down. When we have multiple votes coming in together and we're not sure, then one of us will take the vote number, the other one will take the section. And then when we get a little bit of wall in the finishes, right again, we go through and we reconcile our sheets. We always reconcile our things. We reconcile our sheets. Another thing that we write is what time the race started. When I've done some of the bigger, like national races, it's writing down what time we started, because the PRO needs that information. What time it started, the distance. They'll tell us everything, and you'll see at the top, and sometimes they'll say, yeah, fill out everything, or no, this is what I need. Each PRO will different what they want. For pursuits, you're just writing down the votes as they come. So you don't have to worry about the class. One of the things that I was going to share with you about this, the check-in, on the spread. When you're doing your strategy, when you're creating your strategy, it is really easy for the race committee if you put them in order by their class. So all your A3 votes, all your B3 votes, like whatever. I've actually done some races where they just put the votes in order of when they register. And then it's a little more difficult for us trying to figure out, because we might just see a name of a vote and we can't see the number as they're coming in. But if I can see a name, or I know, because I know, like, Wham Bam, I know that's a red cell vote. I know this is the fleet that they're in, or my range, or if I know that vote's coming in, but now I gotta find them on the sheet so I know where I need to record stuff. And it's so much easier if I know I'm something up here or I'm listening to these. The other thing, when I'll see votes coming, is for them to check in, because I know who it is. By their name, I will do a one capital, because I've seen them. But when they actually check in, is when I do the next capital. Because sometimes you'll see a vote, and something might happen and they're not going to race. And if I've done that full hash mark on them, I'm thinking, okay, they come in and they checked in. But yeah, that I saw that vote, saw them, and they checked. That's just on the flags, when we are doing two people doing the flags, and I've actually done the flags by myself. Harry, but you can do it by yourself. But what I would say is it's made it a lot easier is to have your candles turn. You identify who's going to do the prep flag, who's going to do the class flag for A, and that candle is pointed toward that person. Who's going to do the prep flag? It's candle for that person. So we also know that because the prep flag is going to come down first, then the B flag handle is going to be pointed towards that person. So we already have our flags, the handles according to who's gonna be picking them up. And then for the prep flag, when they put it down, they make sure they're turning the handle towards me or to whoever the next person. It makes it so much easier because while we can do a delay, I've never really had a delay. It's always been the flag going up. So it makes it so much easier for basically, and I'm just one little person. Other thing, what do you think? Yeah. Clipboard, I know that a lot of times the PRO has clipboards. I have my own. And I bought this sticker from US Sailing. I'm not telling them, but you can buy these and just put it on yourself. I also did on the back. Oh, I think on the back, it tells me what the abbreviations are going to be for the scoring and the start distance on the back. So all of this is what goes things for. I bring it everything. And I like this. I put my pencils in here and it's just I'm ready to go. I bring my own pencils. I have a little pencil sharpener. I have erasers because then having a pencil eraser, you know, it goes away or it gets really hard. So I have some of those extra pencil erasers. I even have one of those little portable pencil sharpener things. Yeah, like this. So in the middle of the race, your pencil, yeah, when it gets short and fat, you can't really write everything down. So, and then another thing I did because I was in one race where they wanted things in different colors, I got myself a little bit. So they wanted something to and this was a North American. And the PRO, I never worked with that PRO before. And the assistant PRO who had worked with him said, we want these things in different colors. Or in, yeah, so it just made it easy. The next time I went out, I think I did 3 days of racing. So after the first day, that's my.
Very much appreciated. Just one thing to tell the potential waste committees that John didn't go over, and that is it's important. There's no timing, right? That's the course for. We run our races, our club races are run on courses. And they're in the race instructions. You might have 6 Bravo or 6 Charlie or whatever. And you can look it up in the book and it'll tell you what the sequence of marks is and directions. We only use this for races in which we have members of people racing with us that are from outside the club. For example, this year it'd be the Tri-Service Cup and the Veterans Cup. The Tri-Service Cup will be run this year by Norfolk Navy, so we don't have to worry about that. But the Veterans Cup, we're gonna have to do something like this. With the course up, with letters on the course that show the marks that they go around. These are CCV racing marks, and they're on this chart. Victor is the one by Back River 1. That's Back River 1. Mike is the Phil Schultz light. Zulu is the tall range tower. The Yankee is where we start. So you race committee guys, this is not a timed event. Put this up. As soon as you get out there, you have one guy put this up, and I'll work with you. I'll suggest a course to you based on the wind and the wind strength and direction. And basically, you put this on the side of your boat, just tie this onto the gunnel or the railing from the side of the boat, and then you put these marks on it. We got these marks, these pieces of paper under the plastic. We got them for every mark. We got multiples of each one. And we have them in black and red. And you put them in red when you want the sailors to sail with their red side or their port side next to the mark. So this course that I've got here, the first mark from the start, go to Victor program, which is if you leave it on your port side, the red side and the side where you have the red light, if you can't run your port starboard. And then you go to Alpha, which is off the salt bombs, and you leave it on your port side. And you go to Mike, the Thimble Shoals light, and you leave it on your starboard side because it's black. And then through the night, all rain tower, leave it on your starboard side, and then finish at Yankee. And again, leaving Yankee on your starboard side during the bills. Any questions about how to set up one of these? We have a book full of these little things here, just take them to this floor and hang them. And for our internal club races, we don't usually use the board, we just call it out on the radio, make sure everybody's got it. The race committee just keeps calling until finally answers, yes, I got it, I understand. And then you could say back the names of the marks. That way we know you got it. Okay, any questions about anything that we've covered today? Well, thank you very much.
Okay.
I'll see you for the new racing Yankee, got the open CYC and also the rules, racing rules of sailing.
Thanks for coming, everybody. Next week, we got, FMA is going to be, briefing on the mine. The report, the street, just came in on Zoom, in and out, I think. Appreciate you coming out on this cold winter. Good place to be. We'll see you next week. Same what time, same part chicken.
Oh, see you tonight.
Or tonight.
Leave the chairs, don't move them around, 'cause we'll use them for tonight. You're handling the cake? Fine. You got it? Okay. There you go. I had dinner with Bob and Susan on Tuesday. Yeah. Thank you. Very good.
Yeah, well, that will be. I could do that one. Yeah, that's. Totally different.
Hey, Dutch?
Holiday.
Yeah, this is Keith. Did
Hey,
you
Steve,
record,
hi.
did you record the session?
I did. As far as I
Okay,
know,
cool.
it's still recording.
Okay, good.
I'm not
I
sure how
didn't-
to turn it off.
Just hit, the record button again.
So we didn't use the big screen, so that doesn't matter as far as I don't see anything where it's saying it's recording. That's why I'm a little concerned. But I did push.
The top,
I did
look at the
push-
top, look at the top of your screen
Oh, yeah. Okay. I see
and it says
recording.
recording. And if you hit
Yeah.
that, I think if you hit that, it'll stop.
Okay.
stop
So I
recording.
don't have to worry about it
No.
being finished. Okay.
No,
All
what'll
right.
happen is when you stop the meeting,
Yeah.
there'll be an alert that'll come up that says that it's downloading the video, and you just have to let it run for about, I don't know, it takes about 20 minutes,
Yeah.
and then you can and then it should download that to the hard drive somewhere.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll find out. So the stop to me, I'm just going to push this white X and the red circle, right? The stop
Yeah.
sign.
Yeah.
Okay. Are you done talking at me?
Yep. Sure am. I'm leaving.
All right. See you later.
All right.
Bye.
Is there anything I can help y'all with?